Well, it's hard to know what was in that price, what liabilities, what subscription database rights you have. But I trust Mark Benioff, and if anybody knows how to price something, he does, and he's doing it for the right reasons. I mean, you could have had different private equity firms, others come in to do it, to try to break it up or milk its circulation base. Here's a guy doing it because he believes in it, believes in the brand, and I couldn't be happier.
Talk to me a little bit about the advantage of having a sole proprietor, whether it's Benioff or Luce, who started the whole thing about 95 years ago, as opposed to having a corporation own it. Which is better?
You know, we always argue that back and forth. We can talk about the days when the Sulzberger family and then the Graham family own the Sulzberger's on the New York Times, Graham's on the Washington Post, now Bezos does. You can look at magazines when Condé Nast used to really be run by the Newhouse family, then when it got the pressures of being more of a public corporation. I tend to think that a well-intentioned, good sole proprietor, starting with Ben Franklin and now going all the way to Mark Benioff, is probably a better way to run a news operation. That's what Henry Luce did. When you start making it a public company that can be bought and sold and activist shareholders, you lose what a media company has to do, which is keep an eye not just on the shareholder interest, although that's part of it, but also the stakeholder interest, the reader interest, and the public interest. As you know, Tyler, because you passed it on the old 34th floor of the Time Life building like I did, Henry Luce's will used to sit on that floor. And he said that Time Inc. had to be operated both in the interest of its shareholders and the public interest. That's probably easier to do with a sole proprietor.
So, Walter, if you're a sole proprietor of one of these organizations, these news organizations, is there an expectation of a return on investment, of profitability, or is this sort of like owning a sports team? It's a passion project in the end.
Well, clearly there's a mix of both feeling good about doing something that's civic and virtuous, also hoping to be able to take a business that is a profitable business now. And if you take the Time Magazine brand and the Time Magazine journalism, you can see conferences coming out of it. You can see events. You can see great digital and video now being done on Time.com. So I would think, just like Bezos with the Washington Post, I would think Mark is trying to make it bigger, better, more profitable. But he's also doing it not saying, what is the maximum return on investment I could have had for this $190 million?
Walter, investment and returns aside, is there anything that should be read into the idea that these billionaires want news dissemination outlets? Is there a fear that these mega gazillionaires will try to influence news flow? Should America be worried about that? It feels as though the Trump administration has made Jeff Bezos and others that sort of a target.
Hey, we've always had media barons. Rupert Murdoch is a media baron, whether or not he has controlling interest or he is partly publicly owned. We've had media barons throughout the 250 years of great media in this country. And yes, there's always a risk that some media baron, William Randolph Hearst, Rupert Murdoch, Henry Luce, Jeff Bezos, there may be a fear that they would somehow use their outlets, their publications, both to advance their political goals or to advance their personal and business goals. So you got to be on the watch out for that. You don't see a hint of that in Jeff Bezos, and I can promise you, you're not going to see a hint of that in Mark Benioff. I know him. He's going to be purer than the driven snow when it comes to running a media outlet.